Yes, indeed, President Chad here for the EPL Rewind, the final episode of the season because the season has ended. 2022 to 2023 EPL season is history. And with me to talk about it is the man, the fearless one himself, Andre Errol Baptiste. How are you, my brother?
I am very good, Chad, and glad to be here with you.
Nice, nice, nice. So, Andre, we need to start off with the elephant in the room, or I should say the elephant that was on the tree that eventually fell down. What went wrong with Arsenal this season, Andre? What went wrong?
I think no excuses. The team coming down to the end of the season, there was injuries, or there were injuries, I should say, that affected the team most sincerely. William Saliba. That notwithstanding, though, I felt that at times the team lacked the necessary discipline in defense. And also, I want to say I've never been happy with Mikel Arteta. And I want to say clearly that I thought that in the game against Liverpool, when the score was 2-1, after Liverpool had missed a penalty, that Arteta's decision to remove Martin Odegaard in the 76th minute and replace him with Kilgore, a defender, sent the wrong signal to the entire team and even the opposition. It meant, therefore, that he felt they could defend the game. Unfortunately for us, all Arsenal supporters, in the 87th minute, that didn't happen. So again, I would have kept Martin Odegaard on the field because defense is attack and he would have been able to play forward. And he said he went for an extra defender and it didn't work. We were lucky because had it not been for some outstanding save from Ramsdale late on in that game, Arsenal should have lost that game, actually, to be honest. And this after a very good start. And I think from then on, the team seemed to lose some confidence. The game against West Ham, 2-0 up again. We conceded another goal and a mistake again by Partey. And I thought Partey in particular seemed to go off the boil coming to the end of the season, whether it's because of some of the off the field problems he's having, whether that could be the reason or not, I don't know. But he seemed to go off the boil. And then we got a penalty, and of course, Saka missed. And I'm not against Saka because when you're taking penalties, you could miss. Sometimes you could miss. But there was no reason right after the penalty miss. You're talking about within a minute and a half, Chad, Arsenal conceded a goal. I mean, that shows you the team totally broke down. And then went from bad to worse. You come up against the lowest ranked team, the team who was certain to get demoted, and they gone 3-0 up on you. I'm sorry, well, 3-1 up, well, 2-0, then 2-1, then 3-1 up on you. That's it. And you come back and you equalize, but still, right then, you send the wrong signal going into a crucial game against Man City. And I don't think there was ever a comeback after that.
All right, I hear you. Now, I mean, let's look forward a little bit for Arsenal, and I guess we will do that as much as we can because the transfer window hasn't really gotten going as yet. But to me, one of the things that Arsenal lacked this season was leadership on the field. You can't really do much for leadership off the field. Arteta is growing in the job. This is his first head coaching job, and you have to give him time to grow and expand into the job. But leadership on the field, and I felt that when the team brought in Jesus and Zinchenko, people that have won things, that have been in a championship team, they were hoping to get that leadership on the pitch. To me, Jesus was not a leader at Manchester City, so I don't really know how they expected him to be a leader at Arsenal. But I think that is one of the things. The one thing that is lacking, clearly, the ability to win a title is there. Clearly, the technical ability in terms of putting a team together to go out there and win games is there. Do you agree with me that what is lacking is that leadership on the field, that maturity, that person who has done it already and that could marshal the forces together?
Well, I would have to say no, only because for the first half of the season, even up to April, they see it seemed to be working. Whether it was Martin Odegaard at times, Shevchenko, as you mentioned, even Shaka, it was working. But it appeared as if coming to the end, yet again that little extra quality, demand when doubt was created, there wasn't a strong enough character to put the team together. I mean, we can always say they're not a strong enough leader, but I think sometimes in some teams, and we've seen that, particularly with Man City. I mean, and I'm sorry to jump to them, but Pep Guardiola has used this technique where he says they are different leaders. Everybody's a leader. I think that has got to be instilled in the players. For some of these players, Jesus is no leader. We know that. without a doubt, Jesus, that's not his role. Shevchenko, yes. But Jesus is not, that's just not his role. He knows about winning. That's an advantage he has. He knows about winning. And that's okay. But he's not really a leader. So I hope going forward that Odegaard works well in the job. I think if a guy like Declan Rice comes into the team, as Arsenal would like him to come into the team, Declan Rice can rise to that occasion and be a really strong leader in midfield. But first of all, there are a lot of other defects, particularly in the central defense. Gabriel makes too much mistakes, and without Saliba, he's exposed. And Rob Holding was never going to be good. I think in the end of the season, he started to use the young Polish defender Kiwa. He might have been a better option early on, but it's already happened.
So looking forward, you expect some personnel changes, and
Definitely.
you think Arsenal would be good to go.
Well, once the personal changes, I want to happen. Yes. So I would say
All
yes.
right, all right.
I would certainly
Well,
like Chad to get another forward, an attacking forward, another quality forward. Because as good as Jesus is, let's be fair, he will score between 12 and 15 goals. That's not enough, obviously. And that's the honest truth. He didn't get injured, he might have scored between 12 and 15. But we need, and I'm nothing against Nielsen or Nketiah. They're just not that up to that level. Trossard looks a lot better. I like Trossard. He's adventurous. He can play on the wing. He gives option. But the biggest fear I have is Saka. Saka played almost every game for Arsenal. When Saka doesn't play, there's a major problem on that side of the field. They need to have somebody who is able to replace Saka at times. Now, Emil Smith-Rowe, if he can return to his best form, let's hope he stays injury-free and he can return to his best form, it would be good. But with the news that Saka is obviously leaving, I read today somewhere, I don't know how true it is, but I read today somewhere that Moses Aido has agreed terms with Arsenal. He's from Brighton, obviously, and he would be a good pick. He's strong. He could run forever. He's a strong guy. I mean, that's where you need those kind of that kind of effort will be needed because honestly, Partey to me looks very suspect right now. In fact, I didn't think I'll ever say it, but Jorginho actually looked better than Partey in the last five or six matches, honestly. So a major concern, but the defense has to be a concern.
all right, all right, all right. Let's keep it in London. Let's talk about Chelsea.
Hmm.
Chelsea finished 12th.
12. Yeah, 12.
12th this season. It's been a while since they've been down there.
Yeah.
A lot of people believe that Chelsea entire season fell apart when they fired Tuchel. What say you?
I think so. I think I agree with that. But I think it actually fell apart when it was sold to Bowley. By the time it was sold to Bowley, that's when the trouble started. That's what eventually led to Tuchel going, obviously, because Bowley had his own thoughts and Tuchel stood up and said, no, I don't agree with that. And Tuchel proved to be right. I mean, it was ridiculous, Chad. You see so many players. It was like if they buy a whole new team. So Chelsea will be at about 30 men. They're about 30 and they were
zero
good
chemistry.
men. Yeah. And they are good.
Let me ask you this. Despite the dysfunction of Chelsea, do you think it is fair to say that Potter was not up to the task of managing a top
Definitely
four club?
not up to the task. Definitely Potter. Because let's be fair. Okay, fine. It may have taken you 4 matches, 5 matches, but they didn't seem to be anywhere. There was a time they just weren't going nowhere. So you are telling me as a coach, you've got to make a decision. These are your starting 11. Stick with them, or his starting 13. But he was changing right through. He was just doing his own thing. I mean, you didn't have a forward. I know that Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang may have had a bad ending at Arsenal, but he's a good forward. He scored goals when he went with Barcelona. You come into the team and you immediately drop the man. You ain't give him a game. Besides you not using him, you go and put Kai Havertz and them in that position. So, because I'm sure you remember, Tuchel would have known Aubameyang from Dortmund. So he brought Aubameyang. But before he had a chance to even play him, this matter happened, and you then drop him completely. So you break the man confidence one time. You don't break his confidence one time. You have enough problem to break his confidence. You bring him back for a few matches, but it was a waste of time by then. You bring him back for the game against Arsenal. You're putting a lot of pressure on him to play against Arsenal.
Now, during the course of the season, I really wasn't laughing at Chelsea too much.
You lie.
And the reason I wasn't laughing at Chelsea too much is because we have
I don't
seen this
believe you.
story before.
I don't believe you, but go ahead.
we have seen this story before. So Chelsea will have a horrible season. Normally end up winning a FA Cup or a Champions League or something. But finish low down, miss out on Champions League the next season unless they win it or qualified some other way. And the next season they will bounce back and the title contenders. And we have seen the seesaw with Chelsea. But coming to the end of the season, I started to think, this is not Chelsea under Abramovich. All of those things happened under Abramovich. You'd have bad seasons, upheaval with the coaching staff, exits coming in, and then the next season, they will have success. This is a new ownership. Do you think this season is going to be a bounce back? Now, when I say a bounce back, I don't mean they'll finish better than 12th there. I mean, I think you or I could manage Chelsea with this crop of players to better than 12. So we expect Pochettino to do better. But
Much
when
better.
I say bounce back, do you see Chelsea as title contenders next season?
Yes. Honestly, under Pochettino, I see that the only problem would be I know Pochettino has not won a title before, but he's a good enough coach.
No, he won a title with PSG in his second season.
No, all right. Sorry, I should say not won an English title before. That's what I meant, because
Okay.
everybody could win with PSG, right? I think even I could coach PSG, honestly.
I agree.
In that league. But the problem is, can he make some of the characters? He'll have to do. He has a tough task in front of him, of course, certainly, Chad, because he'll have to get rid of some people. It's clear. There are some people have to go. So it's some tough decisions, but he's a good enough coach that he can make them a contender. I think he can make them a contender. And I whether they will win or not, I don't know. But I think he can make Chelsea a contender.
All right. Well, as I said, I had felt so earlier, but as the season went on with this new ownership, I think if Bowley continues to keep getting his hands involved in football, the Chelsea gonna have a problem.
Of course. Well, I would hope that part of Pochettino's statement or requirement on his contract would be that less involvement from Bowley. If he keeps his word, we'll see.
All right, we're gonna stay in London again, and let's talk about Tottenham Hotspurs. There's talk that Tottenham Hotspur are going to be hiring the Celtic coach. Personal terms are supposedly done. It is just a matter of them to work it out with Celtic. That needs to be finalized. Let me see. Let me see. Can I pronounce this guy's name? It looked like Ang Postecoglou. Did I do that well?
Yeah, you did well.
Very nice.
He's now a domiciled Australian. I think he was born in Greece, but he's a domiciled Australian now. Yeah.
All right. So, I don't know much about him, but the bottom line is Spurs needed a coach.
Yeah.
This guy is.
I think it's going to be tough for him. It's going to be tough for him, particularly if Man United or Real Madrid buy Harry Kane. Then honestly, Tottenham have no chance of making it top.
Yeah, but even if Harry Kane stays, Harry Kane got his goals this season. He got his assists. He did his part, and this team didn't show up.
No, but
so I'm not sure that even if Harry Kane stays, that Spurs have a real chance.
No, but the only reason I say they will have a chance if Harry Kane stays is because I think Song had one of his worst seasons. Really, you don't expect Song to have a really terrible season.
And after signing an extension, he signed his extension earlier this season.
And Richarlison just is not the right fit for that team, and he didn't mesh with the team at all. And then let's not forget that crazy goalkeeper Lloris. So if they can remove him,
he's supposed to retire at the end of the season, so he's supposed to be out the door.
And I think they're looking for David Raya, who's a good keeper, the Spanish goalkeeper. So I think that would be a good change. I think they will be. I'm certainly not going to say they're going to win the league. That I'm never going to say for Tottenham. But I'm certainly going to say that they can compete for a place in Europe, whether it be in the Europa Cup or in the Champions League. If Harry Kane stays, if Song gets his act together, and Richarlison leaves, I think if Richarlison stays, there's a problem because all three of them can't play at the same time. That's the problem you have, really, because Richarlison wants to play through the center, and then he interferes with the relationship between Son and Kane. And I think that's where the meshing is not good.
Well, I mean, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. I for one think if Spurs qualify for any European football next season, they should consider themselves fortunate. I don't expect
Yeah.
Spurs to be in the top four, but then again, Premier League every season does throw up a surprise. And this season, the surprise most definitely was Newcastle, without a
Yep.
doubt.
Well, it was a surprise in terms of their placing, but between us, Chad, we should not have been surprised because they invest a lot of money in the players. They have a reasonably good coach. I would say Eddie Howe is a reasonably good coach, and the players all came with a lot of experience. I mean, Kieran Trippier is a former England international who could play at any level, and same thing for Callum Wilson, another really good centre forward they have, and then they have a good goalkeeper in Nick Pope, and then they have the Argentine Bruno Guanere. So I mean, when you put that together with men like Almiron, who seem to have found his form all of a sudden, and you begin to wonder where he was all the time. And then they brought in Isak, who got some injuries. So it wasn't a bad team. I think they have to make some additions to be really competitive. And I say well done to them. But I agree with you, it was a surprise.
Don't get the Brazilians upset saying that Bruno is an Argentine. Eh?
Oh, sorry, Bruno. Yeah, I said Bruno. Yeah,
You know that you know
Brazilian.
the Brazilians and Argentines, you know that is.
Yes,
But
yes.
now one of the things that always stands out to me when teams like Newcastle, Brighton get European football, as we have seen many times with teams like Everton and West Ham in the past. They get European football and they have a dip next season because their starting 11 is normally good, but after that is challenges. Brighton, we already
Correct.
talk about Caicedo, then we hear McAllister to Liverpool is practically done. So Brighton is going to be losing pieces, and if they're really serious about competing on two fronts, two major fronts, they're going to need to add pieces, and Newcastle as well. Now we know Newcastle have the money, but Newcastle is going to have to add some pieces as well if they're serious about being in
Yeah,
Champions League and maintaining that top four spot.
I think because in the Champions League, they'll be probably able to convince people to come in and join with them. They'll probably be able to do that, hopefully for their sake. But for teams like us, or I mean, when I say us, all the teams in the league, a lot of teams in the league are going to be glad that Newcastle is there because exactly what you just said, Chad, they're going to expect them to fall or falter in the Premier League because of that. But they have another side of the coin, which I'm sure we will go on. The teams who are not there, that's going to be another problem. They're going to be dangerous.
Correct. Um, let's talk about one of the big surprises. I remember when we spoke at the beginning of the season and we did predictions. Everybody had Liverpool in the top four. Everybody. There was not
Correct.
one person I spoke to that did not have Liverpool in the top four. I had Liverpool finishing second. I had picked Manchester City to win the league. Liverpool barely making European football, finishing fifth. As short as you could, what went wrong with Liverpool this season in your eyes?
When I look at the Liverpool team, I mean, a lot of people have said Mane was the major problem, Mane not being there, and in a way they're right because it took a while, and it took a while for Salah to mesh with the other players, and there was some injuries up front in particular. I mean, Gakpo came in, but he came in after the World Cup, so his impact was late. But the problem really was before the World Cup for Liverpool. There are some difficult times before the World Cup, and I think the whole meshing wasn't good. Van Dijk, Chad, is not the same Van Dijk from before. That has a lot to do with it. He is not, since he's come out from that injury, which was caused by the Everton goalkeeper Jordan Pickford in that game. He has never really beat himself. And then it appeared he couldn't find a settled partner with him to partner him. So they were exposed. And as much as we talk about forwards, defense is critical. And I think that's what went wrong. And I almost get the feeling for a while, Chad, as if there was a feeling that Klopp wasn't doing his job. People started to criticize Klopp, and Klopp took it personally. He started to make a lot of excuses, and the team started to fall in that same pattern. I think he got back his senses after the World Cup and decided to come forward and try stop making all these excuses and saying the referee in this and this bad decision and a certain thing, everything going against them, and that was it.
And the field wasn't even, and the grass too high, and all kind of
Yes.
stupidness.
I remember that. Yeah. All that didn't help the team. Too much excuses. Because Liverpool should never have been in the position that they are in. Of it, they are a much better team than that, honestly. And I think when you look at the last set of matches, they rue some of the drawn games or some of the mistakes they made against other teams. I mean, but
And when you think about it, Allison had a good season. Allison, if it wasn't for Allison, I don't think Liverpool would have been in the top 10.
of
He
course,
did
agreed.
some major saves. So it really is the people in front of the goalkeeper because they have an excellent goalkeeper. Their right back and left back are two of the best in the league. So
But
I-
the central midfield was weekend. The central midfield was weekend. To be
and
honest,
and it is aging.
and agent. I think when they got rid of Wijnaldum the season before, well not last season because that season just finished. The season before that, that's a major loss. They thought Henderson could have. Henderson, to me, Henderson actually plays good for England, but he doesn't always play so good for Liverpool. But they like to use him a lot, but he is not. I wouldn't put my hand out for Henderson. I don't think anybody would buy. I think Henderson, if Henderson go for sale, they wouldn't get much money for Henderson, honestly. He's a hard worker, but he will never be Steven Gerrard. So that's the problem they have. They try to compare him and say he was the next Steven Gerrard, but he can't. He just can't deliver that way.
He's not skilled enough. He's not
Yeah,
as skilled as Gerrard was. I mean, I ain't no
no.
Gerrard fan, but Gerrard was good and he
Yeah,
was talented and Henderson is not that. Henderson normally would give you a lot of energy, and with every year
that's
he's
all.
getting older,
That's all. That's all.
you
I think
can't
next.
really expect that.
I think next season, if all of their forwards remain fit, they will be a strong team. If they have the full forward line, everybody fit and fighting for a place, they will be
I mean,
a strong team.
we were all laughing at Darwin Núñez, how he was
Yes, at the
missing the
beginning.
goal. But the reality is, and football supporters, you all have to keep this in mind. Any player that does all the hard stuff and gets in the position to score and misses, that will happen. A man might be off. A man not going to be off whole season.
No,
So I don't expect Darwin Núñez to go through next season the same way he went through this season.
no.
And
Neither
if he
neither.
starts off the season hot, Liverpool might be trouble.
But you see, and you go ahead, yeah.
Because the hard things, he does do them good. He just be the player, he just be the goal. He gets himself in positions to score goals.
And then don't forget, Jota will be back into full fitness, and we know how good Jota can be. And I think Louise as well, who was out injured for a while. So I mean,
Correct.
when you think of it on paper, they'll have a real formidable front line.
But
If
I
they
mean, we
get-
can't talk about Liverpool and not talk about Salah before we move
Of
on
course.
to the City clubs. Salah, at the beginning of the season, people were making excuses for Salah. They were saying, oh, Klopp tweak the formation a little bit.
Yes.
And Salah was playing a little wider on the left, a little more as a winger and a little less as, And okay, I kind of accept that, all right. But throughout the course of the season, Salah just did not look
No.
like the Mo Salah of old. He got his goals, but he didn't look like the Mo Salah of old.
I think one of the reasons that was that Salah likes at some link play, and he also likes to be the center of attention. He couldn't be that this time around because he wasn't getting the passes to create that. You realize, well, I give Klopp a lot of credit. When Salah missed that penalty, everybody called for Salah to stop taking penalties. But Klopp stuck with him, and you realize he decided, hey, let me revert to my penalty. Let's blast the ball in. And that built his confidence tremendously. No,
Andrew, I don't know what happening, but your volume seems to be fading in and out.
okay. Are you hearing me better now?
Yes, go ahead.
Right. I think that next season, Liverpool will be the dark horse, Chad, because they have no Champions League football. They are going to be
Focus on the
dangerous.
league.
They are there. That European thing not going to bother them. They're going to be dangerous next year.
I think you're right about that.
That's why I
Definitely.
wanted them to qualify for the Champions League, because I see them as a danger in advance.
I think you're right about that, but I don't think they would sleep on Europa. But
No.
definitely, they would definitely not be as into it as if it was Champions League. So I agree with you where that is concerned. Manchester City I mean, we came to them a little late in the program, 25 minutes in, but that's all right. Champions of the league 3 times in a row. The second club only after Manchester United to ever do that, to win 3 Premier Leagues back to back. Well, you and I, you know that I am not Pep's greatest fan, but we need to give credit where credit is due. The man has definitely done a good job. This is before the Champions League final, of course. So we have Manchester United winning the Carabao Cup, Manchester City winning the league, both of the Manchester clubs in the FA Cup final, which Manchester City end up winning. How do you think? Do you think they could end off this season treble winners?
Yeah, honestly, I honestly thought, and I still do think that Manchester United FA Cup game was always going to be more difficult than the game against Inter Milan, because to be fair, I mean the Italians will get annoyed, but the Italian league doesn't look to be a strong league. Now I know it's a one-off game and anything can happen in a one-off game, and of course if it was the best out of three, Man City win this already without a doubt, right? If it was home and away, but it's a one-off game. It's in Turkey. Anything can happen on the day. Somebody could get injured. Somebody could get a lucky goal and hold on anything. But on paper, pong for pong, Chad, player for player, substitute for substitute, Man City is the best team in the world without a doubt. The reality is, as Pep said, they've got to win this title to enforce that. They've got to win the Champions League. So that means there's pressure on them. There's absolutely no pressure. No pressure, maybe except from the Italians on Inter Milan. They are under no pressure at all in that game. That could make it.
And I agree with you. I agree with you. They could go out there and play freely. I mean, I know they're going to have tactics. I know their coach is going to have them well drilled. But the pressure is all on Manchester City. City has so far shown the ability to cope with pressure. And I mean, they just have so much players. Even in the FA Cup final, I'm a United supporter, but I was telling people straight up, if it was just a matter of the best team was to win, City was to win, because they are the better team. So anybody who beats Manchester City at this stage is upset. Right? They had, as you say, the best team in the world right now on paper.
Yeah, without a doubt.
There's a lot of. Go ahead.
I was going to say that a lot of credit to Pep Guardiola, because let's be fair, everything that he does, other teams are slowly following. Whether it be in terms of pressing, whether it be in terms of formation, he's made 4-2-3-1 so common now. And by having centre backs playing in midfield, he's converted men. He has transformed the face of football with his tactics. And until others are able to catch up. Because what I like about Pep Guardiola is every season he trying a new idea, because he realized everybody catching up with him. So he trying a new idea. And then, of course, they buy this man, this phenomenal man, Erling Haaland. And I say this, without Erling Haaland, Arsenal would have won the English Premier League instead of Man City. If they didn't buy him this season and they kept their usual formation, Arsenal would have won the English Premier League without Erling Haaland not being there. But give Pep his credit. He knows when to buy a man and bring in a man to do the job, and he did it.
Indeed. I mean, obviously, there was talk a month ago about Gundogan leaving.
We could take him. Arsenal willing to take him one time. Arsenal.
There are a couple of players that was talk on the list, but there's also talk that City is trying to keep Gundogan instead of letting him leave.
It would be a major mistake to let him go. Major mistake.
But I mean, it doesn't matter so much in the sense that City has the money and they're going to be able to replace whoever is leaving. So we're not concerned about the players. But from the perspective of the charges hanging over City's head, do you think, because Pep has made it clear that if it comes back guilty or anything like that, he's out of the door, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that made the real City next season? Because I really don't see anything else. Do you really?
I don't see. I know when I spoke to you and you believe that how something will happen. I honestly don't believe anything will happen. Seriously, honestly,
so
I don't believe.
You think they're gonna get off again?
They're gonna die a natural death eventually over time. Honestly, I really see that. I don't see it being a Juventus situation, for want of a
All
better
right.
word. I
So you
don't
don't
see it
see
being
any points being deducted. You don't see anything like that. And
a
therefore,
slap,
the City train should
slap,
just keep rolling.
a slap on the wrist. That's the most they will do. I
Now,
believe so.
one more thing before we move on past City. I talked to a couple City supporters, and there's one that believes firmly that if Pep doesn't win Champions League, he might just take a break.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. But I guess we're on the same page with that.
No,
We're
I
on the
don't
same
think so.
page with that. Because I understand that Champions League is what Pep is all about at this stage of his
Yes.
career. But this City team gives you the best opportunity to win
Yeah,
a
yeah.
Champions League.
And
So
I
even
think
if you
that
don't get it this time,
correct.
you go back.
Next year. If there was another option yet, but they have no other option. This is the best option. So that's why I think he will stay. This is the best option.
I agree. I agree. So let's talk about the other Manchester club, Manchester United. After a horrible start, Ten Hag got it together. He got the guys on board, and Manchester was able to secure a third place finish, secure some silverware, first time in 6, 7 years, 6, 7 seasons. As a non-United supporter, looking at Ten Hag, looking at United's progression, how would you rate United's season?
Very good. Excellent. Because I mean, one title, two finals, one title, and Champions League and third place. I think all Man United men and women could be very happy with the final result. Of course, they would have been nice to have two titles. Nobody's denying that. Of course, that would be ideal. But the reality is that they were facing the best team in the world. This team decimate Real Madrid. They mash up Real Madrid so much that Benzema had to leave. Because Benzema looked absolutely poor in that game. He looked second rate. So they have to get rid of Benzema. They know if they want to compete next year, Benzema can't work. Because they'll have to come up against Man City again, somewhere, somehow, to win. Make no sense. Benzema looked really bad. They need a much more younger forward to the middle. That's why Harry Kane, of course, would be ideal in that environment for them. Obviously, if they can get Harry Kane. But I'm sure they're looking for a forward if they can't get Harry Kane. So I think Manchester United can be extremely pleased, not only because of the early losses, but because of the problem with Cristiano Ronaldo just before the World Cup, when many people said, well, that's it. When they come up from the World Cup, they mash up. But Rashford come back and catch a form that was unbelievable. There was I mean, you know it better than me, but there was a time when Rashford was scoring in nearly every game he played in. I think he was scoring a goal in nearly every game, like bound to score, right? But I know he got injured eventually, and that helped them a lot.
And looking forward, I mean, the whole question of the ownership is obviously looming.
Yeah.
And even though the season has ended, we haven't gotten anything from the Glazers on that front. But just in terms of the players, because you're hearing a lot of rumors about players, Mason Mount, others who
Come
are
in.
suddenly lifelong United supporters. Everybody was a United supporter since they're small, and everybody wants to come to the club now all of a sudden. Do you think that is because of Ten Hag, or people just see the club moving in the right direction and it's attracting them?
I think it's both because Ten Hag has done that. So I think it is Ten Hag, and because of the way he is there, and he has the club in a right, meaning that he in control. I am Eric Ten Hag. I in control. So if you come here and you perform well, you will get your due. No favoritism, nothing like that. You just perform, and no matter who you are, you could be. Don't get vexed. You could be Harry Maguire, the captain of the team, and you'll be on the bench. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, the only question I would have about him is I don't know if I would have kept. Well, I know the season is done. Daher, because I find he makes too much. To me, he like Loris now in this time of his life. He like Hugo Loris, where the errors, not that he make too much errors, but the errors would be ridiculous errors. If you understand, things that. I mean, I'm sure you would have watched the game, and I honestly thought that the second goal from City, he was badly placed, and he could at least get. It wasn't the best shot from Gundogan. I don't know. I just felt he could have probably sponged it away. I don't know. The first one he had no chance.
I think David here is going to be a real bone of contention for United supporters, because as it is right now, there are some that are like, watch the hair out, we could do better. He already on high wages, And then there are others that, this man has been a faithful servant of the club. He's been around a long time. He's saved us many times. Many times. He's in seasons past, David De Gea was a points gainer. They're very rare that there are goalkeepers that actually gets you points, and David De Gea in the past, not this season, but in the past, actually gave Manchester United
No,
points.
I agree with you. I agree with you with that. I agree.
But Ten Hag wants to play total football, and he wants a goalkeeper that can distribute. And I think that FA Cup final showed both David De Gea's strengths because he had some good saves.
Yes.
And it highlighted weaknesses because his distribution was atrocious.
Yeah.
So, if David De Gea stays, I personally believe it's just because Manchester United needs so much. You need strikers, I think at least two, but you need at least one proper number 9. You need a centre back to replace Harry Maguire. The manager said he needs a midfielder. And to me, the price of players, if you're going in the market for top quality in those positions, you ain't going to be able to afford to get a goalkeeper as well. Yeah. So if David stays, it would probably be because he couldn't afford to get a new goalkeeper as well.
I can't tell Manchester United people what to do, but I definitely think that the worst decision was to buy Wout Weghorst or whatever in Wout when you scored 2 goals.
Well, it was a loan, so Weghorst is already gone.
He added little value other than this big figure up front. He really, I mean, and
he couldn't reproduce that World Cup form in that World Cup game against between Holland and Argentina.
The man score one goal, one goal against Argentina. So he catch everybody off track, but he didn't catch nobody off track again. And I think as well, the other major area that Manchester United will be looking at, as you mentioned, is obviously Martial, because I don't think he really up for it, and neither Eriksen. I think Eriksen looked past his time, bad, particularly in the FA Cup final. Eriksen didn't look good.
Eriksen for 2 seasons, and I think Ten Hag wants a midfielder. It's good to have Eriksen as an option, but Eriksen shouldn't be making a starting 11.
No, he can't make it. I was glad that Sancho played it because I think Sancho was underutilized before, and he needs some more exposure because Sancho is. And then you have and again this one right, you have the young Argentine, who is going to be a very good player.
And by all reports, that young Argentine is going to be wearing the number 1 shirt next season. Sorry, the number 7. Number 7 shirt next season.
Ronaldo.
And that being said, I would think if the club is giving him that shirt, it is because the club is expecting him to become a starter next season. So let's see how that competition goes.
You know, I want to deviate here. If you look at it, that could mean, think about it. Garrincha, you have from Argentina on one side as well. Yeah, you have him on one side as well. And then don't forget, you also have the other Argentine, Alvarez. You have Alvarez on the other side. You have McAllister.
Argentina is in terms of talent, has a good pool of players to pull from going forward in the short term. For sure. So peoples, make sure, put your comments below, like, subscribe. What do you all have to tell the fearless one, in terms of what you expect for his team Arsenal next season and the other teams that we spoke about, City, United, Chelsea. Chelsea, man, come on. What are you looking for? What are you looking for next season? Let us know in the comments. So let's talk. We can't talk without talking about relegation. My relegation pick saved themselves, on last day, because from the beginning of the season, I picked Everton to go down, mainly because of Frank Lampard, but they were wise enough to fire Frank early on in the game, but it was still down there in the relegation fight. I was surprised by Leicester, though. What were your thoughts about the relegation battle? Is there anybody who's going down that you didn't expect to go?
No, I didn't expect Leicester to go down. I think Leicester's owners are to blame. They didn't do enough under Brendan Rodgers to make sure that team succeeded. The kind of talent that they have. I saw some of the games, I couldn't understand why Jamie Vardy wasn't starting. I know Maddison was injured. Tielemans didn't seem to be himself. When they got rid of Kasper Schmeichel at 35, they didn't have a leader. So So I knew they were going to struggle. I knew
That's
they were.
Michael. That's selling Michael at the end of the window when you really was in a position to replace him, and pretty much you just had to go with the backup. I didn't understand that move because it wasn't like it was a big money move. It was nothing Nice or whoever it was. I don't think they came with to break the bank. So I really couldn't understand why you're selling your leader, your captain, and a solid goalkeeper, Premier League goalkeeper. It didn't make sense to me. Um, they didn't reinforce. They didn't sell Telemans. Didn't get him to sign an extension, so he's leaving for free. Um, I just didn't understand it. I didn't understand it, and I guess relegation is well deserved. Southampton, to me, Southampton should have been relegated about 5 seasons ago. Southampton has been surviving on fumes. They've become a selling club in the Premier League. They only bring up players through their ranks. They take loans. They haven't been investing in the team. They have been coasting in the Premier League and have been getting good results, surviving every season. But this year that ran out. So good for them. It's unfortunate to see Leeds go back down. But
I think Leeds look for that. And since Leeds got rid of Bielsa, their football has become, what I would say, defensive, really not entertaining. They went for an American coach, and we know how American coaches have not done well in the English Premier League. Their style is not good. So Southampton, I feel sorry for, actually, because I thought that Southampton, as you said, have fought above their weight on many occasions to survive. Yeah. But this time around, there was no surviving, and I think James Ward-Prowse will be obviously heading somewhere else shortly.
And maybe a couple others as well.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple others as well. Overall, we see the addition of top coaches to the Premier League. Again, hands down, the Premier League is going to be the most competitive league next season. Again, we expect to see more players coming in the off season. Who are you looking to shine next season?
I think a team that I want people to watch out for in some ways is indeed Brighton. I think that Brighton, if they continue, even without McAllister and without Saido, their style of football seems to be quite impressive, and the coach seems to be thinking. I like thinking coaches who think on the spot, make change as they go along. Sometimes it doesn't work, but Brighton are a very difficult team to play against, and all the top teams struggle against them. I mean, when you look at the way Brighton play, you wonder, Everton beat them the easiest, which is unbelievable, obviously, right? How Everton defeated them.
I think psychologically Brighton was not that game.
Yeah,
I think they gave all in the game before. I think it was against United. They gave all in that game, and it just wasn't up to, psychologically they were a little deflated. But as you said, all the top 4 teams, Brighton and Brentford, even though Brentford finished 9th, were 2 teams none of the top 4 teams wanted to play.
No.
Those correct. 2 teams were relentless.
As you mentioned, Brentford, I really hope that Ivan Toney gets over his gambling addiction, because his loss will be a major loss next season if he's not able to play for Brentford.
For the first about 2 months. First 2 months of the season, he'll be missing.
So that'd be at least the first 2 months. It all depends on how he comes out of the program that he's in. So,
and I also think as well that there was talk of clubs possibly coming in for Ivan Toney. Obviously, nobody is going to try to take a player that is going to miss the first 2 months of the season. So he's definitely going to be at Brentford next season.
Yeah, that's amazing. But the Brentford coach is a good coach. I for a while I was thinking that Tottenham should have taken the Brentford coach, because I thought he was a pretty good coach with what he has to work with. He's a pretty intelligent coach, and he's in London already. But we'll see. This Australian guy, I don't know. I'll have to wait and see how he feels.
I think we all wait and see, because
Yeah.
After
Steven
Gerrard came across from Scotland, before him you had the former Brendan Rodgers.
Yeah.
And now this guy, yes, out of the three, Brendan Rodgers did win a FA Cup.
Yes.
But that was about it. So
but Brendan Rodgers'
recent history, many Scottish coaches haven't seemed to work out.
But Brendan Rodgers' advantage would have been he would have been with Liverpool before, so he had some advantage compared to this guy has. Anyway, we'll see what happens. But I not hold not much hope for him winning.
What are your thoughts about Aston Villa? Because with their new coach, I think
Ah,
Aston Villa definitely they ended the season. They were the hot team.
I've been
They
on
were the
record
team.
as saying,
Oh,
Chad,
they would say it in racing when the horse runs up,
in
run on
form,
the
yeah,
inside.
yeah, he run up right on him. He just didn't finish. He finished well, but just couldn't win. But he finished well. I've been on record as saying that I thought Unai Emery was harshly treated by Arsenal because I still maintain he was a really good coach. Personally, in my opinion, he got us to a finals that we know in the Europa Cup. Then we lost to Chelsea, as the case may be. But I think it was a good coach, and he was somebody that I would have kept. I would have kept him. I don't know what made them, but I know they were actually was going through a bad patch at a particular time, and there was a feeling. But to me, he's a thinker, and he's a good, and he have a lot of experience.
You know,
Aston
and
Villa would be dangerous.
everybody would talk about Emery, and he deserves the kudos. But players like Ramsey, they also have a lot of good players that have just been kind of flown under the radar. But I think Emery might be able to get the best out of them. So we are
The only,
looking forward.
the only problem they have is they're going to be playing in the Conference League or something. They might be playing in the Conference League.
Yeah, that midweek football.
Yeah,
That midweek football.
unless they get a strong bench, they're going to struggle. They are going to struggle.
Indeed. So, last show for the season, EPL Rewind. Thank you very much, Andre, for taking the time. And we must talk about the fan club. Father's Day is coming, people. So you need to go to the fan club and sort that out. Andre?
They have a special one. I think not the thing. There's a special one. If you spend more than $500, you get a free gift.
Correct. There's some options. It could get either the Argentina commemorative coin, right? The World Cup winning coin. You could get a seat cover. Car seat cover. In different teams, you have City, United, Barcelona, Chelsea. You have different teams. So whoever that support, you can fix them up with that. And you have the option of the sunscreen as well to put on the car to protect from, and again in different teams, including Argentina, you have the 3-star Argentina sunscreen up there. So check the fan club out, spend $500, get an extra gift for dad, so you can buy something for you and get daddy gift. You have options.
Correct. Right? Correct.
Right. People as treat dads, Andre. They don't treat the dads good at all. God's always second best. But at least fan club giving us a chance to well, I say us, I'm not a dad, but giving dads a chance to do something. So
good work by Tino Singh and Mario Singh.
All the time. So it's Chad, President Chad, saying enjoy the rest of the summer. Hopefully your team does well in the transfer market, and you're going to be right back here for the EPL Rewind next season. Much thanks, Andre, and enjoy your time out there in Europe.
Thank you very much. You stay safe as well. Take care. Thanks a lot.
All right. Good day, people.
Thanks, my friend. Bye-bye. Bye.
Support the United Hour. Click that like button and subscribe.